game.
Nice.
Blouses.
Gallon chuck.
Disaster.
Spaghetti.
Disaster.
Well, I mean, I'm no doctor.
We now join America's most popular show, already in progress. Everybody loves
Mitch and Sean. You guys are the greatest duo.
Fantastic.
That team sure did suck last night. They just plain sucked. I've seen teams suck before, but they were the suckiest bunch of sucks that ever sucked.
That smells good. Welcome to the Postgame Pints podcast. My name's Mitch Gallo with Sean Campbell. Sean, hope you're doing well, my friend. In front of me from LaBrosse Brewery, I have an Angry Gallo Ale, as I like to often have during this show, because the coffee gives me some energy. And just when I crack it open, man, oh man, does it smell good. But I'll tell you, I was in the beer fridge that I have on the other side here. And usually I'm pretty stocked up right to the brim. You know, LaBrosse takes such good care of us. I haven't been in a while. That's my fault. I know you went recently. You have some beers that I haven't tried. I'm very, 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 very jealous of you. And I know I have to make a trip to LaBrosse in the next week or so to refill my my beer fridge.
Yeah, I have the Let's Get Physical, and this is a seasonal beer. And so I went and visited LaBrosse with Dave and Catherine, who's a friend of the show, friend of Postgame Pints, and she's been on, and she goes, look, this is, think summer beer. And I just took one sip, and all I pictured was being on a back balcony, sitting by a pool, on a deck, just rays in my face by the water at the canal, like that. It's summer beer. So now that the sun is coming out and everybody's hitting outside, the Let's Get Physical, I was just in that kind of mood, and it hit me, and it just hit me so well. It's an incredible beer. It just, it's that the dryness that I enjoy in a beer. It's very light, and it's got, the fizz. It's kind of got like that sparkling feel to it. And I just, I tasted it today, and I just had to have one on the podcast. By the way, the Campbell Play-by-Play IPA and the Angry Gallo Ale, stay tuned, because very soon specials are coming at LaBrosse. LaBrosse.com, 133 LaBrosse. So it's kind of going to be your final chance to pick up some Angry Gallo. You're like, I was going to do it. Support the guys. And then, no, it might be too late. So some specials coming out very soon. We're going to keep you appraised, and make sure you check it out at LaBrosse.com, 133 LaBrosse in Point Claire. And I know that we have a couple things that we're planning to do very soon, but go check it out at LaBrosse.
Campbell, listen, man, you sold me. I want to try the Let's Get Physical. And I'm enjoying my Angry Gallo Ale, but I want to switch it up and try some of their other beers. So make sure, like me, you head out to LaBrosse.
Yeah, I did kind of the lab test, because they have the lab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I tried 10, 11, and 12. Whew, they know what they're doing. That's Dan, the chemist and friend of the show, and he's been on the Postgame Pints podcast. So definitely incredible beers, and you just whatever you crave, they have. All right, Mitch, what are we doing today?
Oh, no, you said you want to do something a little bit different on the podcast today. So what's your idea here?
All right, so I got this idea as I was watching Connor McDavid break through the Canadiens defense, split the D, win the game, and it was just Connor McDavid all day long. And I enjoyed thoroughly watching him play that game against the Canadiens. You and I worked the post-game show on TSN 690 together. And it just made me miss watching hockey players live. And I know that you and I, when they play in Montreal, are lucky enough to watch hockey live still. But watching on TV, yes, it's fun, and television angles, and they've got whole ways of doing it. But being at a hockey game, being at a sporting event is missed. And I missed when I saw him score that goal, thinking of the fans, seeing something incredible live. So I kind of thought, who are the athletes current athletes, and not just hockey players, current athletes that I shell out some cash to? And I know that you and I are in a business where hockey's tough because we see a lot of live hockey games and we get paid versus paying to see someone. But there's still so many athletes and so many sports that I would just shell out cash to see. So I thought we could have some fun. Top 5 athletes, yours and mine, that you would pay $500, and just pick that number arbitrarily. And maybe for you listening here on the Post Game Pints podcast, that's easy and you'll do that. Or maybe it's a whole lot of money. I think it's a whole lot of money, but $500 to see this athlete play live, or to perform live. Yeah.
I'll tell you, Sean, like to me, $500 is a lot of money.
Yes.
And years ago, I would have maybe balked at this topic and told you there is nobody that I would pay $500 to go see.
However, the 5 I have on my list, easily.
However, well, here's the thing. So I would have told you that nobody is worth the price of admission of $500. But years ago, I was in Toronto for a Maple Leafs versus Canadiens game. And the following day, Sunday afternoon, it was Kobe Bryant's final year in the NBA. And I was very curious to go see him play. I wanted to, but I looked at the prices and they were just out of my budget at that time. I could not justify shelling out the money that it would have cost to go see Kobe play in his final season against the Raptors with the Lakers. Now, Sean, all those years later, I very much regret my decision and should have just put it on credit or found a way to get that money, borrowed it, whatever.
Sold a kidney.
I don't know, but to go see Kobe during that game, because I regret it all these years later. So I don't know if it's maturing. I don't know if my outlook on life is just different, but you know, you only get so many opportunities. And when I cover hockey games, I really try to soak it in and realize, you know, how special some of these players like Connor McDavid are. And I now change my mind. I think $500, if you're seeing a once in a lifetime type player, it's definitely worth the price of admission.
All right, so I'll start things off. Okay.
We're going 5-1 here.
Yeah, we're doing 5-1. So I'll start things off. And the first one, it's tough because I have to fight through the ability that I see these players live for free sometimes.
Yep.
So I do have a hockey player. And I know that the easy one is to say Connor McDavid. And for me, not to say Connor McDavid doesn't mean I don't want to see Connor McDavid or I wouldn't pay to see Connor McDavid. But then there's also personal preference that falls into play here. And also the other thing is, on some of my choices, it's age. And I kind of feel like it's how many more times am I going to be able to see this player live perform at the height of their career, not in the twilight. Like no one wants to go see Patrick Marleau now. You know what I mean? So my number 5 is one of my favorite hockey players. And I had to put a hockey player in and bumped off another person that could have made this list. But I wanted to put one hockey player on this list because the rest are not hockey players. It's Patrick Kane. I would pay $500 to see Patrick Kane play live. Now, ideally, I'm paying for this $500 because I want to go to Chicago and see him play live in that building. I can easily see him from the press box the one time he comes to Montreal, but I don't know when the next time they're going to be coming to Montreal. So that made me think about when's the next time I can see Patrick Kane play live. So Patrick Kane climbed the ranks over Ovechkin and Crosby and maybe McDavid because he's in the North Division, and Ovechkin and Crosby I see a little bit more often because he's in the West. I went with Patrick Kane at number 5 for me, that I would pay $500. That's how much I like watching him play. And ideally it would be in Chicago in a big game and big moment. You can't choose that. I'm paying the ticket and we'll have to see what happens.
All right. I like that answer. And, you know, I know you pretty well. And if I was to list your 5, I probably would have had Patrick Kane on the list because I know how much you like watching him play. I have a hockey player closer to the top of my list. We'll get to that a little bit later. I also only chose one hockey player. Hard for me to justify putting hockey players on the list when I cover the sport. And during a normal season, attend 35 to 40 games live. It's just different.
I tried to get past that a little bit, but it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. I understand. So my number 5, Sean, I think you might be a little bit surprised because I'm going a bit off the board, but I like the energy in an arena right before a fight night, Saturday. Yeah. I would love to be at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada to see Conor McGregor fight live. Now, you know how much I hate him, and I'd be cheering for him to lose.
I know.
Just the anticipation of the introduction and him making his way out to the ring and the opponent and the energy in the building. I don't know how many times you've seen UFC live, Sean. I've been to UFC. I've seen GSP live. I've seen a lot of boxing live at the Bell Center, but I've never been in Vegas for a big-time fight like you would get with Conor McGregor. So I'm going with him at number 5 on my list.
Yeah. You can kind of throw out the venue you want here, but you still can't choose the venues. Okay. Like I know you said Las Vegas, but if it was 500 and it had to be Atlantic City, I know you would pay the 500.
Yeah, I love Atlantic City too.
Okay. It's like I said, Patrick Kane, I'll say I want it to be Chicago, but it doesn't matter. I'd still, play that role. So choosing venues, it adds an element, but we're not going venue. We're going, the athlete is the one that pays the price here. I like that. By the way, I kind of want to do a all time. And when we get into all time, I have maybe a boxer or an MMA guy that would have in a ring. Because I
think the all-time list for me would be easier to come up with than the current list.
Yeah, the current is harder. And my all-time, I already kind of have it written down. I was like, I kind of know who I would want all-time in the past that maybe I haven't seen or I would have paid to see them live. All right, so my number 4, I'm going with another Patrick in another sport. I think he is the best quarterback in the National Football League. And I know everything I say about Aaron Rodgers, but I've never seen Patrick Mahomes play live. And I would shell out $500 easily if I was able to attend a Chiefs game. Of course, Arrowhead. I'll take any other venue at this point. Who cares? And I can't choose the opponent, divisional or interconference. But watching Patrick Mahomes play live is on my list. And this was when I started making this current, it was like one of the first names I wrote down. It was it was like Patrick Mahomes. I want to see Patrick Mahomes. I just love, like, he's on TV. I got to watch it, but seeing him live, I'm in. Patrick Mahomes makes my list easily.
Yeah. It's funny because no football players made my list. And I love football and I love going to football games. I feel like if I was to choose a football game to go to, it would be based so much more on teams and venues as opposed to individuals. And I like watching Patrick Mahomes, but I don't know. It did not make my list. Number 2 on my list, or number 4, since we're counting the other way, is actually somebody who I've seen play live already, but I would pay again. And that would be Mookie Betts of the LA Dodgers. And Sean,
I like that. I like
couple baseball players that have made my list. I haven't seen Mookie play, obviously, with the LA Dodgers. He's only been there 1 year, but I've seen him on 2 different occasions at Fenway with the Boston Red Sox. Mookie is a guy who can entertain you in the outfield, tracking down fly balls, making diving catches. He could do it with his arm. He could do it stealing bases. He could do it hitting home runs. He could do it hitting for average. He is your prototypical 5-tool player. He can bring you out of your seat at any moment in the game. And that's hard to do in baseball when you're sitting a lot of the game on the bench. So Mookie Betts comes in at number 4, one of only 2 athletes that I've seen in my top 5.
All right. So I like that you went to baseball, and I knew you were going to have some baseball players on this. I have 2 football players. I'll get to my other football player in a second. But at number 3, this one was hard for me. Because there's a long list of basketball players that I want to watch live. And I have a personal favorite. I love Damian Lillard. I just think he steals games. Steph Curry and his magic, shooting threes. But if only one basketball player is going to make my list, it's going to be LeBron James. I like LeBron James. Am I in love? But this is a once in a lifetime athlete. Like, I'm happy. Well, I've seen Allen Iverson play live and I've just watched him. I would just watch LeBron. And it's the age thing too, where he's a little bit older and maybe he's not the same player. It doesn't matter. He's such a dominant force. And maybe I'm lucky and he'll play the Golden State Warriors when I pay that $500. I probably wouldn't be able to afford that ticket. It'd probably be more than 500 if it was Golden State Warriors versus LeBron James. But LeBron James, easily. Another one that I just had to write down. And if I'm choosing out of all the basketball players, I gotta go with LeBron. There's so many that I like, but LeBron James was hands down an easy choice for me on this list.
And Sean, as I go to number 3, guess who I had in that slot?
LeBron James.
I had LeBron James at number 3, right in the middle. I'm with you. I'm not the biggest LeBron fan, but I also realize when I'm watching something that I'll never see again.
Mm-hmm.
And LeBron James is going to challenge to be one of the, if not the greatest player of all time. And I kind of want to see that before it comes to its conclusion.
Yeah.
I would pay $500 to see it before it comes to a conclusion. And Sean, not only am I going to say that LeBron James is challenging to be the best basketball player of all time, I think he is challenging to be the best athlete of all time. And that's hard to do in a team sport. But I think if you were to build an athlete, you would build LeBron James. The guy is a physical specimen and could probably play any sport he wanted to if he would have trained from the beginning of his sports life. And like if LeBron James said, I want to be a baseball player, I think he would have been able to train himself to be a baseball player. If he wanted to be a football player, he would have trained to be a football player. Man, imagine that guy on skates. You see what Seth Jones is doing in the NHL right now. Imagine if LeBron James had trained in hockey his entire life. I just think the guy is the perfect athlete. So I want to see that live.
All right. So we're going through our top 5 athletes that you would pay $500 to see live. We've gone through our first 3. I just want to give a little shout out to wolfpacks.ca. Wolfpacks.ca for your puppies like Vader and Freddie. You get the subscription. Yeah. And you just go check it out. All the information you need is at wolfpacks.ca. Mitch, what are the words?
Woof, woof. Woof, woof.
All right. So number 2 on my list, Mitch, is the second player that I've already seen. The first one was I've seen Patrick Kane play. I'm going to see him again. This maybe has to do with age. And this one also has to do with a little bit of fanboy in me. I've seen Aaron Rodgers play one game live. It may have been the worst game he's ever played in his life. It was in Buffalo. I think he threw 2 interceptions. His passer rating was 43. It was brutal. And they lost to the Buffalo Bills. And I was decked out in my Aaron Rodgers and my Packers gear. And it was just, look, I had a good time because I was at an NFL game, but I took it on the chin. I was in the road building. It was a rough one. And I know Aaron Rodgers is better than what I saw that night. And I've never been to Lambeau, not allowed to choose Lambeau, but it doesn't matter where. If I have the opportunity to pay $500 to see Aaron Rodgers play before he calls it a career, I already told you, I think today that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback, but I don't think that Aaron Rodgers is that far behind, no matter how old he is. Still got game. And I still think that it's something that I need to see, have to see live. And $500 probably would be on the low end of what I would pay to see him live.
Number 2 on my list, Sean, as we're counting down the top 5 athletes we'd pay $500 to see live on the Post Game Points podcast. Fairly obvious one. I'm sorry, you mentioned him off the top. I have to put him on the list. I haven't seen a hockey player with this skill set that could combine the hands, the speed, the vision, the shot, everything put together. And I've covered hockey for over 10 years now, and I've watched hockey for my entire life. Connor McDavid is on another level. And here's the thing about me putting Connor McDavid on the list is that if you've only watched him on television, you don't know how good he is. He is one of those guys to truly appreciate. You have to see him live, because if you watch him on TV, it doesn't do justice to his skill set. You can see on TV when they put up the little radar of how fast he's going. Yeah. And you could see, okay, this guy is clearly on another level than everybody else. But when you're in the building watching it, It's just different. And that's why he's number 2 on my list.
I can't believe the game that the Canadians were about to play before COVID hit and the protocol and the cancellation a couple hours before puck drop was the Edmonton in Montreal. I know you were going to be in the building.
I was on my way
gonna
to
be
the
in
game.
You know how excited I was to call a Connor McDavid game play-by-play?
Yeah.
And then
imagine.
it didn't happen. Every sentiment that you had.
Wow.
Think about
the good thing
think about the other
McDavid,
way.
Sean, is he's
Yeah.
still very young.
Yeah, I know. That's maybe why I went with Kane. I don't know. But McDavid was, trust me, I wrote him down. I wanted him on this list, but there was only 5. I'm down to my number 1. I chose a baseball player.
I have number 1 a baseball player too, Sean.
Could it be the same one? I don't know. You know,
I don't think so, but I think.
I think you know who my baseball player is.
I kind of mapped it out this way, but I think we might be going to see different players at the
On the
same game,
same time.
and maybe we could go together.
I wrote him down too. Okay, but you talked about 5-tool players, right?
Yeah.
I think mine's a 7-tool player because he pitches. He's got to start pitching and he's batting in the game. It's Shohei Ohtani. I'm sorry. The moment he crossed the pond, Mitch, I was talking to you about him.
Yeah.
And I know it's taken a couple of years and injuries, and I know that now everybody's kind of jumping. I'm not saying that I'm not ahead of the curve on this. I just liked him from the get-go, and I wanted ball players like this. I didn't know much about him except that he pitched and he hit, and I love this is what I want in baseball. And putting a baseball player on the top of the list maybe has that little feel that I miss going to baseball games, and I could put anybody on the top of that list because trust me, I wanted to put another player, which I think he's on the same team that you're going to be choosing. And I wrote him down, and I was like, I find he has less personality, but Shohei Ohtani, no doubt, if I could choose a game that he's pitching and hitting in, sign me up. $500 easy to watch that display. And even though I know I'm probably only going to get 4.5 or 5 innings, I'll take it. $100 an inning. I'm in, Shohei.
I love it, and maybe we should go to see the LA Angels together. Beautiful ballpark, by the way, that I've never been to. Love the rocks in the backdrop. It'd be fun to go see Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. But I'm going with Mike Trout at number 1, Sean. I was very fortunate. I was able to see Barry Bonds play live at Olympic Stadium with the Giants against the Expos. Much like LeBron James, Mike Trout is going to challenge to be one of the greatest of all time. Now, I realize he's getting a little bit older. He doesn't steal as many bases as he used to. But again, like Mookie Betts, he can do it in the outfield and center field. He can do it at the plate, hitting home runs, going for power. Great eye at the plate, walks a ton. He can also hit for average. The guy just does it all. He is the perfect baseball player. Again, I don't want to get repetitive here, but like LeBron James, if you were to build a baseball player, you would build Mike Trout. This is what you would do. You would give all the elements of as far as build and ability, and you would put it into Mike Trout. You can't get more perfect than that. So I would love to go see him live. I love your answer of Shohei Ohtani, and I'd be thrilled, and I would pay $500 to see him live too. But I think, Shohei Ohtani, fun player to watch in a one-off. When I look back and say, who are the guys that I got to see live? And I'm talking about Mike Trout. I'm going to be talking about one of the greatest of all time.
All right, so I'm just going to recap my top 5 from 5 to 1 that I would pay $500 to see live. Number 5, Patrick Kane, my one hockey player. And then my first quarterback on the list at number 4 is Patrick Mahomes. And then I moved to basketball at number 3, LeBron James. That's our crossover, Mitch, at number 3. And my number 2 player is Aaron Rodgers. Fanboy in me comes out. And number 1, Shohei Ohtani. I want a baseball player. Absolutely. That's my top 5 that I would pay $500 to see live. Mitch, yours 5?
My top 5, Conor McGregor at number 5, Mookie Betts, number 4, LeBron James, number 3, Connor McDavid, number 2, and Mike Trout coming in at number 1.
Good job. You could post your athletes that you would pay $500. See, that's $2,500 I'm ready to spend right now, Mitch. Right now. Absolutely. right now. We got to do another episode where we're going to do our all-time list of people that we would have paid $500 for. That maybe and maybe some of these current ones make the all-time list. I don't know though, but we'll see.
You might have to make it a top 10 to make it a little bit easier, because there's a lot that I would like to go back in history and go see live. Want to get to a quick pop quiz?
Yes,
Sean, brought to you by Cunningham's Pub, where they have the greatest chicken wings, not in the city, not in the country, in the world. I've been to Buffalo, and they have great chicken wings in Buffalo. They pale in comparison to the chicken wings at Cunningham's Pub. So check out Cunningham's Pub for our sponsor on the pop quiz. Sean, one of the guys on my list, and you mentioned him even though he didn't make your top 5, Connor McDavid of the Edmonton Oilers. This week, before the recording of this episode of the podcast, Connor McDavid became the 6th fastest player to 50 points in a season. Took him 45 games to get to 50 assists.
Assists, not points. Okay, yeah,
assists. Did I say points?
You said points, but I knew he got to 50 assists. Okay,
he got to 50 assists. Took him 45 games. In the history of the NHL, only 5 players got to 50 assists faster than Connor McDavid. Can you name the 5?
Well, Wayne
is number 5.
Number 5.
Okay. He took 44 games to get to 50 assists. I thought he would have been higher on the list, but 44 games for Wayne. He is a correct answer.
Mario?
Give me a second. I'm having give me 1 second. Another Bluetooth device is connected and I can't hear you anymore.
Oh, okay, got you. All right, so I gotta think.
You're gonna have to kill time.
That's fine. Okay, so he switched his Bluetooth, so I got to figure out the 5 players, and I went with Wayne and Mario to start things off. Okay, before he comes back, I'm gonna think. What am I thinking? Adam Oates in the mix there on the assist. Joe Thornton on the assist. Is that high enough? And we're talking about most assists or the least amount of games to get to 50 assists. So somebody went on a tear. And it was like really back. It would probably be closer to the 80s, possibly the 80s. Big assist guys that decided to pick up their points. All right.
Sorry about that. I'm back. Just like I said,
problem.
I'd be back.
I was talking about what I'm going to say. I said Mario and you couldn't hear me. So I went Wayne, Mario. And
all right. Mario is number 1.
Okay.
Mario Lemieux, in his best season, picked up 50 assists in only 31 games. It only took him 31 games to pick up the 50 assists.
Okay, so those are on the assists front in less than 50 games. I'm going to throw an Adam Oates at you.
Adam Oates, I like the attempt and I like the guess.
Yeah.
Not a correct answer.
Okay. I'm trying to think of who had I needed someone that like finished with over 100 assists in a season, pretty much, right? There was a couple seasons that it went that way. And the reason I went Oates is just those Brett Hall seasons that he picked up all those goals. You know, that's kind of where I was thinking about. That's why I went Oates. I was thinking
I like the Oates guess. He's a great playmaker.
Yeah. Did Yager do it?
Jaromir Jagr comes in at number 3, 42 games to get to 50 assists. So you have 3 of the 5. You probably have the easiest
of the
5. The other 2 are a little bit more difficult, although not impossible to get.
I'm going to go Peter Forsberg.
I love the Peter Forsberg guess, since he is a player that I would have paid $500 to go see live, but he is incorrect.
Yeah, I know he put big seasons, but I don't think he put that big of a season up there.
Tough era to get a lot of points in when Forsberg played.
I know. So I still have to go back to the 80s, right? Probably for both.
I would not go back to the 80s. And in fact, would you like a clue?
Sure.
All right. One clue is one of the players is active, and the other clue is the other player is always forgotten about, but played in the 90s. He might have started in the 80s, but he did it in the 90s.
Okay. So the active player is someone that I mentioned when you were away fixing the Bluetooth. I said I should say him, and then I said Oates, and he said no. So Joe Thornton.
Nope. Nice try. Not Joe Thornton.
It's not Joe Thornton.
The active player is not Joe Thornton.
Is it Crosby then?
It is not Crosby.
Crosby. It's not Thornton. That's active.
It is active.
And that's less than 40. So Gretzky did it in 41.
This player, the active player, did it in 43 games. Took him 43 games to get to 50 assists.
Backstrom?
I like the guess. Not correct.
No, I don't think it's Backstrom.
I don't know if you're going to be. I don't think you're going to be surprised, but you're going to be like, "Oh, damn it!"
Is it Draisaitl?
It is not Draisaitl.
Oh, Kucherov had like 132 point season.
Nikita Kucherov is the active player. It took him 43 games to get to 50 assists.
I forgot he had because he had an incredible season. Like we hadn't seen. Sorry, I said 132. I think it was 128. But I like that number is like up there in the upper echelons of points of seasons, and that kind of came out of nowhere. And you're right. I circled back.
And
everyone
forgets.
got there. My brain got there. But and by the way, he's not active. He's not playing.
He's active.
All right.
He's not retired.
80s, 90s player. It's a 4 though. It's not a.
Yeah, I say 80s. I don't know how much of the 80s he's played, and I think his last season was in 2004.
Okay.
But he played. I think he played in the 80s, but the season he did it is in the 90s.
2004.
Start thinking more around the Adam Oates type of player. Let's put it to you like that. We're talking.
I was gonna say Craig Janney. I was like Craig Janney, Hall of Famer.
No, we're talking a Hall of Famer. We're talking one of the all-time greatest playmakers in NHL history. Always gets forgotten about.
Oh, Ron Francis.
Ron Francis.
There you go. Sorry,
40 games played to get to 50 assists in the early 90s with the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Ron Francis, Kucherov. That's that. See, just look at that list, and that's how crazy that season was for Kucherov.
That's kind of what I was getting at here.
And what McDavid's doing right now.
Exactly. So 5-1 fastest players to 50 assists in a season. Wayne Gretzky, number 5. Nikita Kucherov, number 4. Jaromir Jagr, number 3. Ron Francis at number 2. And getting 50 assists in the first 31 games of an NHL season, Mario Lemieux.
Well, here's a little tease for you for when we do the $500 all time. Mario might be my number 1. And I've seen him live.
I wish I saw him live. Oh, you saw him live? I'm jealous of you.
Yeah, I saw him play for Team Canada.
That's pretty cool.
Just like me. Cheers.
Postgame Pints podcast. And by the way, Sean, to everybody listening, please subscribe and vote and do all the things they ask you to do. Fill out the little star thing on iTunes. You can get us on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube. But make sure you subscribe because that's how we get our rating and how we can get more listeners. And give us 5 stars. Or don't vote on the stars if you don't like the podcast. But give us 5 stars on the podcast. Peace.
Well, how's that for your entertainment value?
They've done their job very, very well.
Awesome!
No.
Come on.
VBF.